made it. We made it to spring training. Pitchers and catchers report. It's right around the corner. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Friar Territory on the Foul Territory TV network. I am Marty Caswell. That is Heath Bell. Heath, we made it. Super Bowl
Yeah,
this weekend, and then we have pitchers and catchers reporting, I think, on Tuesday, the WBC players on Wednesday, and then bam, here we go.
yeah. Back in the day, you'd watch the Super Bowl and then you'd pack up and head for spring training. So we're pretty much here. It's exciting. It's a great week, I guess you say. You don't say a great day. It's just getting back on the field and putting your uniform on and putting those cleats on. So
I know fans and media are excited. How excited really are the players right now?
I think the players are just excited for showing everybody. They want to do better this upcoming year.
Mm-hmm.
All the hard work they've done this offseason, and they're getting ready to, wash what happened last year and, try to win a World Series this year.
I know AJ Preller spoke last week at FanFest and said that he was still looking to add maybe a couple pitchers, a couple arms, shore up the bench, perhaps get someone that can hit lefties. And I think he did that with the addition of Miguel Andujar, who I will ask you about shortly. But when it comes to this roster, Heath, where are the Padres better right now than they were perhaps even a year ago?
I'm probably left field. I mean, that's pretty much the only part that I'd say. Left field, maybe catching,
Okay.
position wise. They're batting order. They were top half heavy. The guys in the top half of the lineup could really hit, and the bottom
Mm-hmm.
half of the lineup didn't really hit. Now I feel like just about everybody on the team, has a chance of hitting the ball or hitting the ball long. You lose a couple players here and there, but every year is like that. But I think this team is actually better than last year's team, showing up by far. We didn't know what Gavin Sheets was going to give us, and now we kind of know. So, really it's going to boil down to how's the bullpen going to react, starting pitching, who's going to step up. But, we got Musgrove back, but Darvish is down. So it's just going to be, it's just going to be exciting to see what happens. And we didn't do a lot this offseason, but we did a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that little bit was good. I think the last couple of years we've done a lot, and everybody's kind of bummed out that we didn't make a big splash this offseason, but I don't think we really needed to make a big splash. I mean, the only big splash you could have made was starting pitching, but I didn't think there was that many out there to make that huge splash. So I like the guys that we're going into spring training with, and you never know. There might be somebody that just we didn't expect that does really well, kind of like Gavin Sheets last
Mm-hmm.
year. So you just never know.
I'm actually a little bit surprised, Heath, that you went with the offense first. I thought for sure you, as a former pitcher, you would go into the pitching. And I think it's a big deal that the Padres, that number one, that Nick Pivetta is still on this roster. I know we spent weeks, Kyle Glazer and I, and you as well, spent all this time talking about possible trade fits for Nick Pivetta if they were to move him, the possibility of a big deal happening. Michael King returning. 3 years, 75 million. Really, it's a 1 year, $25 million deal with a bunch of opt outs. I think that's a big deal for this roster as well, for this rotation, because at least you know for sure you have two starting pitchers, and then Joe Musgrove is going to work his way back. And he did say when we caught up with him a couple of weeks ago, he's going to be smart about how he comes back. He knows where he is at this point in his career. He doesn't want to overdo it. He will listen to his body. And if he has to go ahead and skip a start, so be it, because his whole idea is stay healthy and be ready for when it really counts in October.
Yeah, you really want to be ready for the playoff run
Mm-hmm.
during the end of the season. It's not all about, it's exciting to come off opening day and pitch in April and May, but it really comes down to August and September. So as long as Musgrove does that and stays healthy, I think we have a chance. And, I go offense a lot because, when I was playing, we didn't have a lot of offense. And it's exciting. I really wish we would have had this offense back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, because we had the pitching staff that was like by far the best around that, a lot of people didn't really know. And we just dominated, and we
Mm-hmm.
just would score 1 or 2 runs a game. So it's nice when they score a lot more runs, and it's more exciting to watch. And we got some, bona fide big hitters. Before we kind of had Adrian Gonzalez, and that was, a little Kuzminoff, but mostly Adrian Gonzalez was kind of our main guy.
He
So
was the guy. He
yeah,
was the franchise player. He was the guy. You're
yeah. So
exactly right.
so now they got Tatis, they got Jackson Merrill, they
Mm-hmm.
got Manny. So there's so many guys that you could just kind of go to. So it's fun and exciting to watch right now.
I'm really looking forward to it. The one thing that I think that we all were waiting for last season was to wait for these guys to all get hot at the same time. And it never really happened where you had Machado and Tatis clicking. You had Jackson Merrill dealing with, various injuries, that hamstring, the concussion, just different things. But we never saw this offense really get clicking. And I'm hoping it'll happen for them. That to me changes everything.
Yeah, it's a lot of people didn't give us any credit last year, and then this year I kind of think it's the same boat a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They think the Giants got better and maybe
Mm-hmm.
the Diamondbacks got a little bit better, but I think we're in the right position. Jackson Merrill, he's kind of a veteran now when you're in your third year. Tatis really wants to come back and do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think last season, I think he had some off the field issues, or just there was just so much going on around there. Now everything's kind of quiet, so I think those guys will be back to playing at a top tier shape, and I think they're excited. And as long as they don't get any of this outside noise to bother them, they'll be just fine.
Heath, we're gonna get there shortly about the outside noise, because I think that right now when we go to spring training, when the different, whether it's AJ Preller holding court or the CEO Eric Grupner, if he addresses, the owner John Seidler has never addressed the media, so I don't expect him to, especially with what we know about the team being up for sale. We will get there shortly. But you also mentioned left field to start the show. I think last year in spring training, the biggest thing was who was going to play left field, right? They signed a bunch of guys. They brought in Yuli Gurriel. They brought in Jason Hayward. Who else? Connor Joe. And they just went too long. I mean, I think we thought in spring training, none of those guys were going to be a good fit. And they maybe waited a little bit too long before Gavin Sheets kind of got that opportunity, and they moved on from these players. But how big a deal to have, hopefully, a healthy Ramon Laureano playing left field, Jackson Merrill in center, and then Tatis in right field.
Well, there's something to say when you go to spring training, you know who's going to play the position. When you have a left field, open, or a first base
Mm-hmm.
open, you just don't know. And then it's kind of like, well, who's going to fight for it? Some people think it's this guy, some people's that guy. But when you have like, hey, as long as he's healthy, it's his job.
Yeah.
Or, hey, maybe I can fill that role until our main guy gets back. So it's just a different mindset when you come into spring training. Every position is filled,
Okay.
and usually it's that last starting role, it's that last bullpen spot. It's not a main position, and or sometimes you just have you have two guys for one position, not six or seven guys like we've had in the past. So it's just a different mindset. And when you have a good mindset, and you're like I've always said, and I said this to Kyle all last season, when you come to the ballpark and where you're batting in the lineup, what position is your position,
Hmm.
you just play better. I remember talking to Jake Cronenworth last year, and I really think he believes. I mean, he gave me the normal line of, "Hey, man, I'm just happy to help the team, this and
Right.
that." But seriously, if he was the second baseman all year long, he'd be an all-star. And I think he knows that too. But since he
Hmm.
gets bounced around a lot as a utility guy, and he's always in the lineup, but he gets moved around,
Yep.
he doesn't get the credit that he knows he could get, and other people, that he deserves, because people don't know him. They just see him as a utility guy, and utility guys don't really get lot of credit these days.
It's funny. I had a conversation with Keith Law a couple of days ago of The Athletic about the Padres catching situation. And you said now you like the Padres catching situation. You think they're better, right? Last year it was Martin Maldonado, Elias Diaz. It was those two until the Padres traded for Freddie Fermin. He thinks the Padres really need to give Luis Campusano a shot. That he was mishandled, that not playing him. And this is a guy that did not know the fit on this team. I think he lost a lot of confidence in himself. We saw him walking around with a first base glove. And Craig Stammen said last week that, number one, Campy has caught Craig Stammen. So they already have that relationship. He says he sees Luis Campusano as a catcher, not as a first baseman. Maybe you give him some rest at DH, but how big a deal could it be if they actually commit to him and say, listen, you're going to split some time with Freddie Fermin, but you are a guy, we are going to commit to you. He has not had that. Mike Schultz wanted no part of him last year. Even in postseason, he pretty much said, yeah, it wasn't my call to have him. Bob Melvin did not like him at all. But Craig Stammen seems like he's willing to go ahead and give him an actual opportunity.
Well, I kind of feel like it's a situation I was with the Mets. The some coaches liked me, some coaches didn't like me, and then I ended up getting traded and doing really well in San
Yeah.
Diego. And everybody asked me, "Well, what was different in San Diego than New York?" And I
Mm,
said, "They believed in me in San Diego. In New York, they were like, I don't know if you can do it. I don't know if you can do this. I don't know if you could do that." They
okay.
questioned every single thing I did. And with Camposano, I think it's the same thing. I'm a big believer in coaching and front office being very honest with the players and just
Hmm.
saying, "Hey, Camposano, this is what we're going to do. This is where we see you." Like last offseason, if I would have told him, especially with Freddie behind the dish, I'd say, "Look, I want you to be the backup catcher. Unless something goes down, then you're going to be the starting catcher. But I'm going to start you off as a DH. I want you to be part of this team. I want you to do this." And then come into spring training, he knows exactly what he's going to do. That if I was the manager, that's exactly what I would do. Say, "Look, you're my backup, but I want you to be our main DH. And because I know you can hit, and if something goes wrong, you can, start catching." Not saying you're not good or whatnot, but when you bring up a guy and say, "Well, I know you've been catching in AAA and I know you've been raking in AAA, but we're not gonna play you for a while. We just see you as like a once a week guy, as a pitch hit, maybe first base, maybe this." Then as a player, you start doubting yourself. You get bummed out. You try to overdo things because you're like, "I'm gonna show the coaches I can do this." And you just don't go play the best of your ability. You try to do too much.
Hmm.
And I think it does a lot of things with the psyche. So I think if Camposano doesn't make the roster and he's not one of the main like DH or play catches half a week, stuff like that, like 3 or 4 days a week or whatnot. Why not trade him? Try to go
Yep.
get something for him.
Yep.
And I just feel like they're kind of ruining somebody that can hit, but I just don't think the big league team has given him any confidence to go out there
Hmm.
and do what he knows he can do and what a lot of scouts think he knows what he can do. But that's the thing is they say baseball is, 80% physical and 90% mental. And it doesn't add up to 100. But because the mental part, I tell everybody, what's the difference between AAA and the big leagues? It's up here in the head. It's just the mental, knowing you can do it, not worrying about all that other spot, things, and realizing, hey, embrace your roles,
Hmm.
knowing that I'm the best of the best in the world. And, you just go from there. So I really hope Campusano does really well this spring training and kind of shows everybody that he should be a big league player.
I hope so. I hope so too. I hope so too. Now you mentioned that opportunity at DH. Speaking of which, the Padres just brought in Miguel Andujar, 1 year, I think $4 million. Hey, Heath Bell, he can hit lefties. He can hit lefties. Last year, I think between the A's and the Reds, hit 820. He hit eight. I'm sorry, 822. He hit 318 with an 822 OPS. He hit 297, 807 career OPS against lefties. How big an addition is Miguel Andujar to this Padres team? I don't think they're expecting 27 home runs like he did in his rookie season, but how does he fit this roster?
Well, Miguel is a really good player. And it's just going to be interesting to see where he fits. He's kind of played a little bit around, a lot of third base, some left field, some, first base, some DH. It's just going to be where it fits. Like I said in the beginning, when you come to the ballpark and you're the DH, you're the left fielder, you're the second baseman or what it is, you just feel another confident. But when you show up going, "Well, I don't know what glove I'm going to wear today,
Yeah.
and just I hope I'm in the lineup and then see what position I'm in," it's a different mindset. So, and that's where I just think the Padres have need to be the last couple of years. I've said this. You kind of need to prior toward the positions and say here. I mean, remember Bogarts a couple of years ago was playing. He was going to be our second baseman now, and
Right.
now he's back at short. And it's like that does something. Even a veteran guy that's been around for a long time that's got a long-term contract, playing shortstop and then having kind of a rough year, and they say, "Okay, well, Kim's going to go to short. You're going to be a second baseman, and then the next year you're going to short." It's just like, okay, I guess I'll just play wherever instead of, man, I'm a shortstop for the San Diego Padres. I'm the
Right.
third baseman, this and that. And, I'm also big on the lineups, unless you kind of, if you're hitting bad where you got to go in the bottom of the lineup, and like Kyle and I used to talk about all the time last year. I'm like, why don't we move Manny Machado? And he's like, "Well, he's earned that right to be in the three spot." And I go, "Okay, I get it. Why can't anybody else earn that spot? We're bouncing around all the time. They don't even have a chance to earn it.
Hmm.
The game is different now." So If the game's different, you can't use old school things and new school things. You got to use one or the other. And it's just, it's basically what I'm saying is the mental part of walking into the clubhouse, knowing going to spring training, knowing you have a job, knowing you have a legit chance of winning a job, makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel excited, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to win that job. And you're going to bust your butt to 110%, and you're going to have a great season. I really, truly believe that. It's the mental part of the game.
I completely agree. And you brought up the example of Xander Bogaerts. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Bogaerts found out about moving positions like late in spring training, and he was not happy about it. I mean, he said the right thing. He's the ultimate team guy, but he said
Yeah.
later on that it really affected him. Like he identifies with a certain position, and making that adjustment mentally affected him on hitting side, hitting and defensively. So
Yeah. The new part of the game doesn't take in affect guys' mental state. I really believe that. I mean, look how many shortstops we have on the team that converted to other positions. I've said that for a while,
all of
but
them.
yeah. But at one time we brought in, I think it was like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, we brought in like five, we had Eric Hosmer, first baseman, that we signed
Yep.
long term. Then the next year we brought in four more first basemen. What does that do? So it's just the mental part. And it's like I just think that's the one thing that we kind of miss. When the Padres are a team, we saw it what was it, 4 years ago or 3 years ago? They all went to the Bad Bunny concert, weird, long ago,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden they started raking, and it wasn't no necessary, Bad Bunny's music or whatnot. It
Maybe
was
it was.
they all went as a team. It's like the team function. It's the team party.
Yeah.
Get together, become a family, and then you go out and you strive to help your family out. Now there were situations like Scott Harrison and Chase Headley. They were playing left field together, but we were such a knit team. I think this was 2010 or 2011, that if Scott Harrison got hits, Chase was not upset of not playing, because he's like, Scotty's hot right now. And
Hmm.
then he would go 0 for 3, and then Chase would come into pitch hit, get a base hit. And then Scotty wasn't like, man, I lost my job. He was like, go, Chase, come on. You're going to start tomorrow. You're going to tear it up. And then when you get cold, I'm going to take over. Instead of that competition of, man, I hope he doesn't get a hit because I want to play. So I really believe that if the team gets close together, stays close, jokes around, does stuff together, this is going to be a team to reckon with. And that team camaraderie, that team unity is going to be amazing.
I hope you're right, because you talk to guys from last year's roster and they will say that it was a super close knit team. These guys really, really liked each other. They spent a ton of time together, of course, at Petco Park and away from the field. So I'm hoping that it translates. Now, this is going to be interesting. You're giving me flashbacks, Heath Bell, and you know where I'm going with this, okay? Because the number one story going into spring training for me is going to be the potential and the sale of the Padres, right? John Seidler and his brothers, they've come to an agreement with Peter's wife, Sheil, and that's just going to go ahead and expedite this team being sold. I think Dennis Lin of The Athletic said that the initial bids in the Padres sale process expected near the end of, in the end of February. The known candidates, Joe Lacob, who owns the Golden State Warriors, Friedkin, who owns Everton, and I think Jose Feliciano, who owns Chelsea. Anyways, you played with the San Diego Padres team that went through the process of being sold from John Moores to Jeff Moorad. I think Jeff Moorad purchased the team in 2009, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then he immediately slashed payroll. I mean, that was a rough era. During that time, he traded Jake Peavy in 2009, Adrian Gonzalez 2010, two extremely popular players because they were making too much money. He bought them on an installment plan. I had this thought yesterday, whatever Rob Manfred does and the fellow owners, they need to make sure the person who buys this team has the capital, does not decimate the roster like Jeff Moorad did, and invest in this product. Heath, what was it like playing for the Padres when you went from John Moores, the uncertainty of that, the end of his ownership, to Jeff Moorad, who gutted this Padres team?
Well, you also got to remember in '07, we almost made the playoffs. We're a really good team. In '08, we were a horrible team. And they did sign Jake Peavy to a long-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian was going to come up in free agency in a couple years. I was kind of farther out. So then in Moorad got the team, and we all kind of knew, and we are like, okay, well, John Moore would always have a meeting with us once or twice a year.
Okay.
He'd have a dinner with us. More, we kind of figured that stuff was going to be gone. Actually, in '07 it was there. In '08 we knew he was selling the team. It wasn't
Okay.
there anymore.
Okay.
And then he took ownership, Morad, and it just seemed like he didn't have the money. And Jake Peavy had a no trade clause,
Right.
and they asked to be traded, and he said no. And I think he denied it
He
one
did.
or two times with
He
the
did the
White
first
Sox
time.
before
Yep.
he said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like, oh my gosh, where are we going? Adrian would talk to me and was like, man, they're gonna trade me. I'll try to give him a deal. That didn't happen. I tried to give him a deal a couple years later. That didn't happen. Morad would promise things. Hey, like Chase Headley, you're going to be the highest paid Padre player. That didn't happen.
Mm.
So it was just like I said, I'm big on ownership, just being honest with the team. It
Yeah.
makes the team do well. I think this year is not going to be an issue.
Okay.
Whoever buys the team this year, even if it's the end of February or the end of March, I don't see the new owner coming in and doing anything right now. And two, I don't see a new owner doing anything like cutting payroll and stuff because this team is on the bridge. It's right on the cliff of winning a championship,
Mm-hmm.
beating the Dodgers, and having a legit chance to win a World Series
Yep.
year in and year out. Like a few teams out there, like the Toronto Blue Jays. They didn't win a World Series last year, but everybody knows they're a force to be reckoned with.
Yep.
And I think the Padres they're really close of being in that status. Like we're a force to be reckoned with. We just need that one or two pieces, maybe an ace starting pitcher or something
Mm-hmm.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
or another big bat. If, like blockbuster, we lose a bat, but we get to gain a huge bat that meshes well with the team. So I see an owner wanting this team because one, it's got fan support. Two, it has a chance of winning.
Yep.
Some owners come in and they go, "Hey, I want a team because I want to make money." I I think they all want to make money, but I think they're coming in like, "Hey, I see this team a chance to win a World Series where I could put my spin on it and we could win a World Series because I go get that one or two pieces." So it's just I don't see an owner breaking this team up. I really do. I don't see that at all. I see this going to be a good thing because I
Mm-hmm.
think of the side of their family. If Peter didn't pass away, the ex-wife or widow, well, there wasn't this going on, I think we'd be fine and we'd be in a better situation to win a World Series. But since we're in this situation, we probably need a new owner just to spend a little bit more to get to the promised land.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because the last couple off seasons have they been very, very quiet, which is un AJ Preller like. Nick Pivetta ended up being just a bargain find for the Padres last season, as you mentioned with Gavin Sheets, and we'll see what happens with Miguel Andujar. Right now, he's just tinkering. But you're right though. I mean, I'm thinking of the teams who have been put up for sales in the past, right? The Angels. The Angels are an absolute disaster, right? The ballpark, that roster, they're a mess. The Padres are completely different. Second best attendance in all of baseball, which is remarkable. They've capped
Yep.
season tickets for the third or fourth straight year. They're going to draw 3 million plus. They have superstars in that team. If any of these guys are touring Petco Park during the regular season, man, that energy is going to grab them. Hopefully, it's on a Tuesday night when there's no giveaways. They're going to see just how unique the opportunity is with this franchise. So I hope Major League Baseball does it right, unlike what they did with Jeff Moorad from years ago. And when you're talking about Jake Peavy, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Jeff Moorad tell him after he refused to waive his no trade the first time, if you don't waive it, we're going to gut the roster around you? I mean, he was like threatened, I think, Peavy was, if he did not waive his no trade clause. And by the same thing with Adrian. And I know Adrian gets booed anytime, so heavily booed when he came back to San Diego because he was with the hated Dodgers. Adrian did not want to be traded, man. They forced his hand as well. Just a remarkable different era.
No, and I could tell you stories. I mean, he offered me actually absolutely nothing. And then when I signed with the Marlins, he put in the paper that he offered me what I asked for. It's 3 years, 21, and he offered me 2 years at 4, not 4 a year. 2 million. Where that past year I was making 7 for that 1 year. So
Mm-hmm. Wow.
he just like that's my big point. Like if you have ownership that's trying to lie to you and deceive you. I mean,
Yeah.
I know other people that, he would be like, no, we're going to try to keep you this and that. And then I knew some of his friends that knew me that Moorad didn't know that knew me. And he was like, yeah, I overheard him that he's got to get rid of me. So that's why I'm like, just be honest. If you're an owner that doesn't want to be honest, then don't talk to your players, but at least have the front office be honest with you. And that's where I
Hmm.
think if you're honest, you go farther, you go further. And yeah, I really think new ownership will be fine. I think Moorad was just a bad situation. He didn't have the money and was buying it on a 5-year layaway plan. And no person should do that.
All right.
Especially a baseball team or a professional team of being like, hey, I don't have the money yet, but I will have it in a couple of years. And how do you get it? Luxury tax money. You be the lowest payroll. You get all the money from the other clubs like the Dodgers to
Hmm.
pay your payroll because you don't have money for it.
Yep.
Then you decide, well, maybe in 10 or 15 years I'll spend money. That's kind of what Oakland's going through
Oh,
right now.
it's a joke
So,
what John Fisher's doing.
or Las Vegas or whatever you want to call them right now,
Yeah.
Sacramento.
Yep. Yep. Absolute joke. Heath, this has been a ton of fun. Do you have big plans for the Super Bowl? Are you hosting a party? Are you cooking? What's your role come Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm actually out in LA helping
Oh,
my
wow.
daughter move, and then I'm going to Orange County to get inducted to my high school Hall of Fame. And since I'm
Wow.
out west, I called some friends and said, hey, we're watching Super Bowl at your house.
Awesome.
And he was like, okay. They're not real big football guys because their team isn't in it.
Sure.
And I was like, but I'm coming to your house and we're doing it. Maybe I'll jump in your pool or something. They're like, all right, come on over. Well, I'll bring some chips and salsa or I'll make something. I said, all right, let's go.
Awesome. We'll have a wonderful Super Bowl Sunday. I believe I'm going to make my way to Peoria. Hey, you were there a couple weeks ago for
Fantasy
oh
camp.
my gosh, fantasy camp. Any new restaurants I should go hit up? Come on.
No, you should definitely hit the moon. But new restaurants.
Do you like the remodeling of the moon? It's like it's like a lounge. It's bizarre. Come on. A booth
No, but it's
at a
just
bar?
fun with all the campers to go. Let's put it that way.
What's that?
The restaurants they've been there, the ones in the parking lot at
The chains?
the stadium.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
The new ones that have been there for what 2-3 years now, they're always really nice and good.
Okay.
I just usually the campers, we go there once, but there's nothing really new. I would say in
Okay.
Peoria, it's just same old, but there's good food there. It's good eating.
Okay, well, I will do my best. I will probably hit up Olive Garden and all the normal places, but
Don't go
we'll
to
see.
Olive Garden. Go to like someplace better than Olive Garden. But anyway,
Olive Garden slander. All right, Heath, this has been
well,
a ton
I
of
mean, I
fun.
like their bread, and it's just
It's
I don't know.
unlimited breadsticks. You can't go wrong with that.
But I can't eat bread anymore. I'm too big. I've got to lose some weight. You maybe can. You have a girlish figure. You're okay.
All right. All right, Heath, this has been a blast. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching Friar Territory on the Foul Territory TV network. That is Heath Bell. I am Marty Caswell. Enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday. We will talk to you next week from Padres Spring Training. Bye.
Bye. Jordan, here. Say hi to Marty. Here, hurry up. Hurry up. I'm gonna leave.